Now, ladies, members of the team who will now take their places at the second head table. Seniors, come in and surprise everybody. If you remain seated, please, the invocation will be given by a member of the football team who we found out this year is able to do everything and to do everything well, including giving an invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, head referee in the game of life, guide us in our struggle to make yardage against the temptations of sin. Steer us clear of our opponents, ambition, pride, sloth, and selfishness. Keep us humble in our victories and persevering despite our setbacks. Coach us in our goal to reach that championship in the sky, an eternal contract with your team in heaven. In your name we pray. Amen. Dinner is served.
Sorry, I'm going to go into it. George Loss is going to make a presentation to you tonight.
Is he?
Hi, buddy. Okay. Take a look around and see. May I have your attention, please? Please feel free to continue eating, but we're starting with the program. Of course, the real reason you're here is not to celebrate the 4A championship football business, but the real reason here is so that I could remind those of you who haven't made a pledge to the building fund that I have brought a large leather pouch with me and will be willing to take home anything you forgot. Now, several people ask me why Governor Clinton is not at the head table. There are two reasons why Governor Clinton is not at the head table. One is because he's too cheap to buy a ticket. Nobody gets up here without a ticket. Even the coaches and everybody up here paid for their places. The second reason is because Frank White told me that if his future senatorial opponent gets up here at the table and he doesn't, then he's going to take Kyle, his son, out of Catholic High, and I need that tuition. At any rate, Governor Clinton has another engagement to go to, not as important as this one, but he has to go to this other engagement. And for that reason, we're going to have him speak a few words to us before he departs. I know that you are as proud of him as I am for his tremendous performance last night on national television. He did a great job. Now, I assume that half of you who are applauding must have been the non-Catholics, because Catholics wouldn't lie, and most of you were looking at the Razorback game anyway. Governor Clinton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Father. I stand before you as the only person in Arkansas who's ever gotten anything out of Father Tribou for nothing. If it makes you feel any better, I didn't eat dessert. I'm so honored to be here to see all these fine young men and join in our celebration honoring them. I knew this had to be for the football team. Father couldn't draw this big a crowd on his own just to hear him ridicule public figures. I never thought anyone could ever get me to be sympathetic with Governor White, but he did it by cutting him down there. We're here celebrating losers, and Frank White and I are here to celebrating winners. Frank White and I are here to celebrate winners because we tried it both ways and we like winning better. I do want to say a very brief word. We're here to celebrate these young men and to listen to Gayle Sayers, who has far more relevant remarks to make. But Catholic High has always been a very special place to any Arkansan who knew anything about it. The values that govern the teaching and the life of this fine institution have been an inspiration to many of us who were never students there. And I think it is really rewarding to many people to think that the kind of academic excellence and moral excellence that have always been emphasized and have been the hallmark of every day of life at Catholic High School could be combined with the sort of athletic excellence that resulted in this state football championship. And to me, that is the great cause for celebration tonight. And I just hope, as the person who is, at least for the time being, charged with trying to do the state's part to promote excellence in public education, I just hope that everyone who is here tonight and everyone who hears about what happens tonight will leave with the overwhelming impression that that is what is special about this championship team, that they competed and won week in and week out and rose to the very top of athletic excellence in our state in an institution that would not sacrifice either academic excellence or personal moral excellence. That is the triumph tonight for Catholic High. In closing, let me say that I did accept an invitation to an event before Father Tribou told me about this tonight. And even though most of us get half our lives in Arkansas politics by taking jibes at Father Tribou, he would have been ashamed of me if I had not stayed with my original commitment as well as this one. Thank you for having me here. Congratulations to all you young men. I only hope the rest of your life will be marked by the same sort of triumph that we're here to celebrate tonight. Good luck, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I love trouble. I love trouble so much that I'm going to get myself into a great deal of it by attempting to thank and recognize various people who are present. Because I'm senile, I know I'm going to forget some people, and that's going to get me into trouble, but I'm going to chance it anyway. And in the interest of saving time, please hold your applause until I've introduced all these people or recognized them. First, they're the Mount St. Mary cheerleaders who have contributed their charm and enthusiasm to all of our games. Where are those girls? Stand up for just a minute and let us look. This is the first time, girls, the first time that these boys have been prettier than you. And I thank George Jacobian for that from Rhine Cliff Menswear, because he helped us to deck these kids out and make them look as good as they do tonight. By the way, why don't you guys turn around so you can see what's going on? And well, no, wait a minute till you see the screen. Okay, then you can turn back. All right. Then there are a group of men here who do not know there are 4 quarters in a football game because they've never seen to the 3rd and 4th. Because for all these years they've been busy taking up tickets. That's Gerald Hudgens, who's the chief honcho, and Walter Binns, Bill Margrave, Gene Cressy, C.J. Trollett, and Lee Wagner. I'm very grateful to those men for all the work they've done. Then there is that all-important man who for years has been handling the money, arranging for ticket sellers, Henry Miller. I'm appreciative of Henry's work. Then there's his counterpart during basketball season, Larry Pinion, who is always there. We can always depend on him. Then seated at the head table there is the very energetic president of the Booster Club, Mr. Jim Gaston. Also, we have here the long-suffering wives of our coaches. I wish the wives of the coaches would stand up. They have the toughest job of all, putting up with these guys who come late all the time. Then, over there at the far end of the table, that's a man by the name of Wadie Moore, and he's the high school sports writer for the Gazette. And I want to thank him for his wisdom. You know, he was the first one of the media people in this whole state to recognize what we always knew, that the Rockets were #1. He kept ranking them #1 for the whole year, practically. He fell off there for a while. But he lost faith, but after all, he's a Baptist. And but I want to tell you, there was a time at Catholic High when he didn't treat us so well, and we had a little saying going sometimes during pep rally, what is a Wadie Moore? And now we know what a Wadie Moore is. He is a very, very wise man who sees quality, who recognizes quality, and is not afraid to proclaim quality, and may you long continue to do so. And if we don't have a 5-column wide headline tomorrow and a 3-column wide picture, you can forget everything I said tonight, man. There are 2 people here whose absence I need to explain. Father Frederick, the assistant principal, is not here because it's his parents' 50th wedding anniversary, and he's having dinner with them, and he felt that that was a more important occasion than this. He'll get fired for that. But at any rate, that's where he is tonight. And then Bishop McDonald, who was at a meeting in Dallas, couldn't be here because of that meeting, and sent this letter. Dear state champions, that salutation, as the invitation of the banquet indicates, includes team members, coaching staff, students, parents, alumni, friends of Catholic High. The state championship is looked upon as a total effort on the part of all of you. When I came to Catholic High shortly before Christmas to offer Mass for the student body, your student president, Wes Lambert, presented me with a bumper sticker to commemorate your victories. I've placed it on my automobile, and I'm glad to display it throughout the state as I travel fulfilling my duties among the people of Arkansas. As you celebrate this happy occasion in the history of Catholic High, I will join the bishops of the United States in Dallas for our annual medical moral seminar. This seminar was planned many months before the football season. I truly regret that I cannot be with you on this happy occasion. I take this opportunity to thank the faculty of Catholic High for the opportunities given to the students of Greater Little Rock for the education and religious formation of so many fine young men. With best wishes, I remain your friend, Andrew J. McDonald. Next, ladies and gentlemen, the most overused phrase at banquets is, our next guest needs no introduction, which is usually followed by a lengthy introduction. Not so tonight. You all know Dave Woodman. He is the Dean of Local TV Announcers, and here he is.
Thank you very much, Father. I had some remarks to make prior to introducing our guest speaker, but on the way in I met Governor Clinton, and he said, I don't have anything to say, could you help me out? So I gave him everything I had. So there's no point in repeating what you have heard so eloquently from our governor. Let me just say that it's a real pleasure for me to be invited to be here. Wadie, I'm a Baptist too, so you're not completely alone in this somewhat pseudo-ecumenical gathering. It's good to visit with you. I don't know whether the fire marshal knew about this or not, but the exits are clearly marked in case anything happens. This is probably the biggest crowd that's ever been in this room, and I commend heartily Father Tribou, the Booster Club Jim, and everyone else who had anything to do with putting this together. And of course, my congratulations to the seniors and the other members of the Rocket football team who fought their way to a state championship. Congratulations. I am here and am honored to have been asked to be here tonight to introduce our guest speaker. I don't know what to say about this man except that he thrilled me on many occasions running with a football. Now, a lot of you guys never saw Gayle Sayers play football. Some of you may have seen some film or tape from the archives. This is the guy who made number 40 famous. He was born in Wichita, Kansas. He attended the University of Kansas. He's always been faithful and loyal to his alma mater. In 1965, he was the Rookie of the Year in the National Football League with the Chicago Bears. And I'll not go into his many exploits except to say that they were many. Gayle has brought a film with him, and so that you young people who really never saw him can gain some appreciation of the way Gayle Sayers ran with the football and the way Gayle Sayers has conducted his life. Let's take a look at the film, and I'll be back to complete the introduction. Gayle?
NFL football is brought to you by Gillette, the #1 team of fine shaving products and toiletries for men. Gillette, first in its league, first with men for almost 75 years.
Hello, I'm Pat Summerall, your host for the world of the NFL. In this show, we're going to go back a few years to recapture the accomplishments of a running back that many call the greatest ever to play the game. Now, that's a big statement to make. But we'll take a look at some of this man's runs in a film that was made while he was still playing. And let's see what you think.
Maybe once in a generation or a lifetime, the great runner arrives in pro football. He is one of the select few who can fill stadiums Sunday after Sunday and whose number is burned into the memory of every fan. He is a man whole offenses are built around and every defense is constructed to stop. Such a man is Gayle Sayers of the Chicago Bears. However, the Gayle Sayers story did not begin in Chicago, but Omaha, Nebraska, where he was born to start. At Omaha Central High School, Sayers was not only both an all-state and all-American football player, but a track and field star whose schoolboy hurdles and broad jump records still stand today. After being pursued by colleges coast to coast, Sayers chose the University of Kansas, where he broke all the school in Big 8 records, and in one game rushed for over 280 yards. At Kansas, his unique running style became refined, his legend enriched, and he was chosen for the college All-American team. Long runs from scrimmage became Sayers' trademark, and after a great senior year, he kept right on running into the pros, where he was drafted by the Bears. In his first year, he showed the wide variety of skills that made him the NFL's Rookie of the Year. Instant acceleration, sure hands, and a power that lusted for the goal line. Sayers climaxed his rookie year by scoring 6 touchdowns against the San Francisco 49ers in the mud. His 22 touchdowns for the season not only broke Jim Brown's NFL record, but gave him the 1965 scoring title. Sayers' speed, elusiveness, and ability to consistently produce the big play made him a natural on their specialty teams. In only 3 years, he has run 6 kickoffs back for touchdowns, equaling a record that took Ollie Matson 14 years to achieve. But what separates Gayle Sayers from every other runner are not records, but his instinctive knack to escape from danger. When he faces a defender one-on-one, the results are either first downs or touchdowns. For 3 years, George Hallis was Gayle Sayers' coach. But no one can coach the marvelous things that he does. And when Gayle Sayers does his thing, it's almost magic. Something that cannot be diagrammed or explained. Just accept it. Even though every defense is stacked against him, Sayers managed to escape their fury and explode for the game-breaking play. That is the moment everyone waits for, expects, even demands. And Gayle Sayers rarely disappoints you. world of danger. Dazzling the enemy, freewheeling into motion. There he is, Gayle Sayers, all-pro, superstar, the most complete runner in football today.
Boy, that's exciting. That was the Gayle Sayers that many of us watched on Sunday afternoons when the Bears came into our homes on television. And I think it's safe to stand here and say that when this century ends and all the great NFL running backs are evaluated, that among the top 5 will be the man who is your speaker tonight, Gayle Sayers. And as much as we admire him for his football ability, for the things that you saw on that screen, I've got to say that the principal reason that it's a thrill for me to introduce Gayle Sayers to you tonight is because of something that he did not on the football field, but in this playing field of life. Many of you have seen time and time again, perhaps, the great movie Brian's Song. This is the real Gayle Sayers. This is the real man who, when his teammate, Brian Piccolo, contracted cancer, became the best friend this young man ever had. And in his dying months, his dying weeks, and his dying days, this is the man who dedicated his life to his friend, Brian Piccolo. And that's the story upon which Brian's Song is based. I give you a successful businessman, a great football player, and the friend of Brian Piccolo, and tonight our friend, the guy's going to thrill you with some things that he has to say, Mr. Gayle Sayers, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure for me to be here this evening to spend a few minutes with you. It's always a joy to come back to Little Rock, Arkansas. I've been here several times over the past year and a half and really enjoy the people, and I'm happy to be here to speak to the young athletes at Catholic High. Tonight, I'm going to talk mainly to the athletes, so I hope the parents, friends, and administrators of Catholic High do not get embarrassed or offended if I don't speak to you, because this is these young men's night. They won a championship, and not too many times in one's life you're going to win a championship. I played football over 22 years and was on one championship team. This may be your last, so I hope you enjoy this night. So I will direct my comments to the young men being honored here tonight. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I felt as a child. I thought as a child. Now that I've become a man, I put away the things of a child. These words are taken from St. Paul's first epistle to the Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 11. These words I deem appropriate tonight because I plan to speak to each of you as a man, as surely you student athletes on the very threshold of manhood. Most of you are 18 years of age, give or take a year. So I have over 20 years of experience upon which I can draw to speak to you as a man. Most of you are student athletes, so you already have one upon Sayers. For although I was an athlete, I was hardly a scholar. But there was one semester when I led my fraternity in graded treatment, but only one. When I was first invited here, I hesitated, as the limits of my time do not permit me to accept all the invitations I received. But when I was told that you was a very, very special group, I decided to come. When I was playing for the Chicago Bears, people asked me if George Halas, the owner and coach of the Bears, had a great deal of influence in the affairs of the Bears. I had one stock reply: if Halas told me to go to hell, I'd be in a hurry to get started. You know, I played football for 19 years. In fact, I have very few memories that don't involve football. I played 4 years in grade school, 4 years in high school, 4 years in college, and 7 with the Chicago Bears. Football has been my life, and my life has been sweet. Football has been good to me. Because I abhor false modesty, I feel I in turn was good for football. There have been many honors accorded me. God gave me the legs, and I determined to use my gifts. The rewards have been rich. False modesty aside, I still hold 9 NFL and 16 Bear team records. 5 times I was all-league running back. 3 times voted the most valuable player in the league. And 20 games rushed for more than 100 yards. I'm a member of the all-time Pro Honor Team, and there are other awards where to list them all, you'd become bored. But what are the corollary benefits? My wife Wadie and I have 3 fine children. We own a comfortable home. I own my own business in Chicago. I'm on the board of directors of Junior Achievement, and in general find my days and nights to be very full indeed. I tell you all of this not to acquaint you with my achievements, because that was yesterday. I merely wish to establish credibility, because my primary purpose in being here tonight is to talk to you about tomorrow, for tomorrow belongs to you. You student athletes are achievers. You have demonstrated that ability by your past athletic and academic performances. And although I compliment you on that and want you to know that everybody here tonight admires you for your achievements, none of us want you to become content with that. I want you to be discontent. Yes, discontentment is one of the 4 things I want to talk, one of the 6 things I want to talk about tonight. To succeed, I believe it's necessary to possess 6 main qualities. The first 4 I call my 4 Ds. My 4 Ds are discontentment, diligence, devotion, and daring. Let's take a look at them. Discontentment. There are 2 kinds of discontent in this world. The discontent that works and the discontent that wrings its hands. The first one gets what it wants, the second loses what it has. There's no cure at all for the first but success. There's no cure at all for the second. Discontent. Don't be satisfied with anything. Don't be satisfied with just being average or mediocre. Be dissatisfied with everything you do, every task you undertake until you get it perfect. Whatever your goal is, if it's to be a doctor, you be the best doctor you can be. If it's to be a football player, you be the best football player you can be. Diligence is my second D. Diligence or dedication. I knew very early in my life that I wanted to be a football player. I wanted that more than anything else in this world. And since God gave me the mind and the body for that job, it was up to me to work for it with all my might. And no one really knows what hard work really is. Hard work, hell. Sometimes it's sheer agony. You train, you work, you hurt. And believe me, it is work, no different than any other kind of work. Sometimes it's boring, but you work hard, you do your best, and you persevere. And not because football is worth it, but because you are worth it. Yes, you stick to the task and you strive for perfection because you are proving that you're grateful that you have the mind and the body to be allowed to perform the task. Devotion, my third great D. There's a destiny that makes us brothers. None goes his way alone. All that we send into the lives of others comes back into our own. This third D emphasizes the utilization of the talent to allow others to help you, to learn from others. Athletes understand this better than some others, especially those in a sport like football that requires a team effort. They realize how much of their personal success is really the team success. Achievers realize how much of their personal success is really the result of a mutual dedication. They know that they are part of every man, and every man is a part of them, a group spirit. Daring is my final D, and perhaps the most important of all. All greatness is characterized by daring. Dare to be different, to avoid the mediocre. Dare to do all that you are capable of doing. Let me tell you about a man of daring, General Patton. Most of you have probably seen the movie Patton. He was probably the greatest military leader of all times. His reputation as a general and his principles in battle have made him famous. In Patton's famous address to his troops who were about to invade Sicily, he spelled out his philosophy of both war and life. I'd like to read to you his exact words. Battle is the most magnificent competition in which a human being can indulge. It brings out all that is best. It removes all that is base. All men are afraid in battle. The coward is the one who lets his fear overcome his sense of duty. Duty is the essence of manhood. Americans pride themselves on being he-men, and they are he-men. We Americans are a competitive race. We bet on anything. We love to win. In this next fight, you are entering the greatest sporting competition of all times. You are competing with Americans and with allies for the greatest prize of all, victory. And the one that wins the prize is the one who first obtains victory, captures the objective. Never forget that. And also remember that the deity, in whatever form you think of him, is with us. Recognize my 4 Ds in Patton's speech. Discontent. Don't be satisfied with anything but winning. Diligence. Do battle with all your might. Devotion. Devotion as an American to your country, as a human being to your God. And daring, letting your sense of duty overcome your fears. Remember these 4 Ds. They help me play the game of football, but more importantly, they help me play the game of life. And remember Patton. We Americans are a competitive race. We love to win. In this battle for success in life, you're entering the greatest sporting competition of all times. The greatest prize of all, victory and success. And the one that wins the prize is the one that achieves his objective. I talked about 4 Ds: discontent, diligence, devotion, and daring. Practice properly, they can help you go a long way. But there are 2 other priorities that you can utilize to take advantage of. These are my 2 Gs: gratitude and guidance. Let me spend a few minutes telling you about those 2 Gs. When I was in high school, my football coach was Frank Smoggers. Smog never stopped encouraging me to study, to train, to avoid bad company. He urged me to use my gifts to get to college, to get out of the toe, which was the ghetto of Omaha, Nebraska. God and Smog got me out of the toe, and I never failed to see him when I returned to Omaha to help my old teammate in a program for underprivileged children. You young men was probably aided by your high school coaches, and certainly your parents. So some of you already passed that high school hurdle. What about college? Go. You must go, and you must graduate. Don't let anything or anybody stop you, least of all, bad company. And don't tell me that money is an obstacle. I don't want to hear it. There were 3 boys in the Sayers family, and we all graduated from college. And we all had vivid memories of shooting sparrows with the BB gun. They had something for supper. So I don't want to hear about the lack of funds for college. College meant for me the University of Kansas, an inspiring leader, our football coach, Jack Mitchell. I got the same message from Mitchell as I heard from Smog: study, train, and avoid bad company. In college, I also ran track, and from Coach Easton learned what has become my personal motto: I am third. God is first, my friends and family are second, and I am third. And finally, my pro coach, George Hallis, who said, I know you train and I know you study. I take advantage of your God-given gifts, and the world will be your oyster. Fortunately, I listened to my coaches instead of the wise guys, and it's turned out rather well for me and mine. You student athletes on the very threshold of manhood, so I urge you to be men in the true sense of the word. Honor your parents and abide by their precepts. And as you go off to school, the closest possible substitute for your parents will be your coach. Let them guide you. You'll come out all right. You will find wise guys all along your way through life who will only destroy you if you allow it to happen. Avoid them. Heed your parents. Heed your coach. You'll never go wrong. The most important step you will ever take will be a college education, because a college degree will prepare you for your life's work. As far as professional sports are concerned, you must be realistic. 5,000 football players come out of college every year. Of that 5,500 sign professional contracts. And of that 500, only about 15% make the 40-man squad. So I'm telling you loud and clear, get your college degree. Coach Hallis has always told the Bear players that football was only a stepping stone to our life's work, and I believe him. The world today abounds with opportunities. Seize them. They're yours for the taking. Our American heritage has played a major role in making our nation the greatest on earth. This is no less important than it was 200 years ago when we were the youngest nation on earth. You are students and you are athletes. Seize your opportunities. If your skin is white, that is an advantage, as it has been for centuries. Capitalize on it. If your skin is black, today, that is an advantage. Capitalize on it. Play football, play baseball, wait on tables, do whatever you have to do to utilize the gifts that God has given you. And don't tell me you don't have the money to go to college, unless you eat more sparrows than my brothers and I did. And we eat a lot of sparrows. I come a long way tonight. I come a long way tonight to say thank you, Coach, to Smog, to Jack Mitchell, to Mr. Hallis, but I also came to meet you and to congratulate you and wish you every success in the world. And tonight, before you leave here, you thank your parents for giving you the opportunity to go to Catholic High. You thank your high school coaches for working with you and making you better athletes and better students. And 10 years from tonight, I want you to find a group of 18-year-olds and tell them something of what you heard here tonight. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Gayle. I guess there just went my Ash Wednesday sermon. I know I speak for everybody when I thank you for those words, and particularly for the teachers, because we know that lots of times the boys don't listen to us, even though we're better looking than you and all that stuff, but they listen to you more than they do to us, and we appreciate what you said to them. Ladies and gentlemen, because our coaches' names are household words in this city and in this state and in this nation, there's no need for formal introductions. Beside, it goes to their heads. So very quickly, I'm going to tell you what the lineup will be. Coach Tim Ezai will introduce the sophomore players. Coach Tony Ezai, his older brother, in fact, his much, much older brother, will introduce the junior players. Coach Roy Davis will introduce the senior players. Coach Doug Pilcher will present some special awards. And then Coach Tollett, our athletic director, will make a special presentation. Coach Tim Ezai.
Well, I'm the older of the brothers, Tony, and Father didn't mess up here. I told Tim that I would go ahead and introduce the sophomores if he bought my ticket, so I'll do that. Now, you know, you people have looked at these guys, and I just want to say one little quick thing. These guys are all big and tough, and they look real good now. But the people you don't ever get to see are these youngsters, the sophomores. Now, you see, these guys are all beat up and battered. These are the guys that run the scout teams, and these guys get to beat them up every day of the week. Then we play on Friday night. Hopefully, the scout teams, the sophomores, and some of the juniors have done a good enough job that we're ready to play. And evidently, this year, they did a fine job. So I'll introduce the sophomores and then the juniors. Please hold your applause until we get through all of this. If you fellows will just stand up as I call your name, that'll be good. Okay, first off, linebacker, Biff Beal. Quarterback, Doug Berry. Linebacker, Bunny Brown. Center, Paul Brown. Defensive back, Keith Calderera. Defensive back Brian Cato. Defensive back William Clark. Kicker Fletcher Clement. Defensive back Richard Cobb. Defensive back Jeff Goebel. Linebacker William Grand. Offensive guard Neil Granberry. Running back Robert Hicks. Offensive guard Chip Johnson. Offensive tackle Kyle Johnson. Defensive end David Lawson. Running back Bobby Loeb. Split end Steve Malloy. Defensive back Blake Montgomery. Defensive end Dale Paulson. Defensive end Mike Summerlin. Running back Scott Tabor. Offensive guard, offensive tackle Jeff Wittig. Defensive back Keith Wertsmith. And then one of our managers who is a freshman working for the varsity, Mark Layton. So that's the sophomores, and we're proud of these guys. Split end Todd Archer. Defensive tackle Tommy Covington. Off Roy Davis.
I hope all of you read the small print on your ticket applications for the banquet. You've just pledged $10,000 to our building fund at school. I tell our seniors during spring practice each year that you must play better as a senior than you do as a junior. If you were average as a junior, you've got to be good as a senior. If you were good as a junior, you've got to be great as a senior. No player can play at the same level. You either get better or you get worse. These players were good last year, and I think they were great this year. I'm extremely proud of them. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the 1984 Rocket Seniors. They were the heart of our championship football team. First of these would be Mike Berry, safety. Mike had the responsibility of covering our opponent's fastest and most talented receivers, and he had probably the biggest interception of the year in the third quarter of our championship game. Phil Brown, defensive tackle. Phil had surgery on his shoulder and surgery on his knee, and he was still probably our quickest defensive lineman. Greg Schutte, he's not at the front table, but he was our head manager. Greg got all of our equipment ready and probably deserves a tremendous amount of credit that managers don't really get. Alan Crook, running back, All-State. He rushed for 1,011 yards for 9.3 yards per carry, which is amazing in a wishbone offense. And contrary to what Alan may think, we're not retiring his jersey. In fact, the only reason he wore number 20 is that was his locker number when he was a sophomore, and he couldn't remember which locker he was in. Our next is Cadet Major John Duchelle, the battalion commander of our JROTC. He had the task of blocking West Helena's All-American 300-pound tackle, Freddie Childress, and I think Freddie had only 2 tackles in their playoff game, so he did a great job for us. John Doolittle, a split end. John came back from a broken collarbone last year, and I think he had a great block on Tony Mariani's touchdown run in the championship game. Chuck Dugan, our nose man, is his first year out for football, and Chuck's improvement over the year, I think, is what helped our defense in the playoffs to hold our opponents to only 8 points per game. John Deuce, free safety. John started 3 games last year as a running back, broke his leg, his femur completely in 2, and thanks to Dr. Jerry Thomas and his associates, they put him back together, and he was perhaps the most or the best tackling safety we've had at Catholic County in a long time. Joe Emmel, defensive tackle, offensive tackle. Joe was an inspiration to the rest of the team for his work habits this year, and he's one of the few players that practiced as hard as he played. Linebacker Bill Fletcher, all-conference. remember the tackle Bill made in the championship game on James White in the third quarter for a yard loss, which I think was a turning point in the game. I promised my wife I'd make no cheap jokes about Shorter College. Bill. David Forrester, offensive guard. David didn't play for us last year. He played as a sophomore. He went through our off-season program, came back in tremendous shape, and he was one of the mainstays on our offensive line this year. William Gaston, center, all-conference. We moved William last year from defensive tackle to center, and it's probably one of the wisest moves our coaching staff made. And William's perhaps the best center we've had in a long time in Catholic High, and he's also a fine gentleman. Bill Hartnitty, halfback, Mr. Hustle. Bill spent 3 weeks in and out of the hospital, a broken rib and punctured lung, and I was so proud of Bill being able to play in the championship game, and I think Bill is fully recovered, but I'm not sure about his parents, you know. Mark Johnson, defensive end. Mark was a significant part of our defensive team. He was a utility man. He played both defensive ends and defensive tackle and hustled all the time. James Keita, defensive end. James returned to play for us. I think he had a little academic problems his junior year, and James had a great, one of his best tackle, I think, of the year in the championship game, and Steve Andrews got credit for it on television. James came up to me after the championship game, and he said, "Coach, it's great playing again. I had all the problems. You know, last year I couldn't even spell athlete, and now I are one." Kyle Lamb, Rover, strong safety, all-conference, perhaps one of the best overall athletes on our team, and Kyle is going to make a fine college athlete. And you know, Kyle's not spoiled, but his mother's not quite sure how she's going to get his lunch to him when he goes to college every day. John Layton, split end. John, when he moved to us last year, was on a wrestling team, and he's waiting to go to college where he can get back into wrestling, and he probably would have played more this year, but he came from New Jersey, and he couldn't understand Drew May in the huddle, so he didn't get Brian Malkmus, offensive guard. This was Brian's first year out for football, and he's a fine student and young man, and he worked hard and made a large contribution to our team this year. Anthony Mariani, fullback. Tony scored the first and last touchdowns of this year's season. In the championship game, he averaged 64 yards per carry. Tony's recovering from knee surgery due to an early season injury. Next is Drew May, quarterback, Gazette, Democrat, Associated Press, coaches all state teams. Drew punted for 42.3 yard average. He had 1,392 yards in total offense. He ran and passed for 15 touchdowns and averaged 7.4 yards per carry. And he think he's going to the University of Arkansas on a scholarship, and we're very proud of Drew. I think Drew is the only player I've ever known to gain weight during a game. Coach Hatfield on television announced him as 194 pounds, and by the third quarter he weighed 200 pounds, and his esteem had grown. By the end of the game he was 6'1", 202 pounds. So next is Ford Overton, offensive tackle and defensive tackle. Ford was hampered by a muscle tear early in the season, and after recovering made a significant contribution. He's probably one of the most popular members of the team. Mauricio Pereira was a Gazette kicker of the year. He kicked 38 out of 41 extra points and 9 out of 12 field goals. And Mauricio probably had the ability to play some other position, but he was so valuable we wouldn't let him. He wouldn't have understood anyway. Frank Strozik, defensive end, all-conference, 3-year starter. He anchored our defensive line. Our tight ends would tell us he was by far the best defensive end they'd play against, and they played against him in practice, so it helped our offensive team also, and we'll certainly miss Frank next year. Darren Weavers, cornerback, split end, tight end. He was all-conference player. Darren was on the receiving end of most of our passes this year, and after the season we found out that he had a hairline fracture of his tibia most of the year, so he played with a broken leg all year. And leave you out, Robert? Robert Raff. Tight end, defensive tackle, kickoff specialist, split end. We even worked Robert in the offensive backfield some. He helped me coach at times. You know, Robert almost missed the season. He had mono at the first of the year, and we thought we were going to lose him, but he came through and was chosen All-State and outstanding lineman in the 4A conference, Central Conference. And there's an old saying I think is true. The head coach is always given too much credit when you lose, and the head coach is given too much credit when you win. And I think I'm indebted to assistant coaches, Coach Pilcher, Coach Tony, and Tim Ezai. They're as knowledgeable and dedicated coaches you'll find anywhere in the state, and they were, I think they're the best coaches around. I wish you'd give those guys a big hand along with these seniors. Told Father Tribou that it was going to be difficult to have a championship team next year. You know, it's been quite expensive for the coaching staffs, their wives buying new dresses and having to buy tickets to the banquet and new suits and things. So without a large raise next year, I'm afraid a championship will be out of the question for me.
I stand before you tonight a little bit scared because not only is there such a large and nice-looking crowd, but my high school speech teacher is also here tonight. And I'm sure when all this is over, she'll probably give me a couple of tips on what I did wrong. It is my privilege to give the Outstanding Individual Awards to certain Rockets. It's difficult to give these awards because I think each and every one of these seniors deserves an award, and of course a state championship is an award in itself. But the coaches, year in and year out, give individual awards for outstanding achievements. Our first award goes to a young man who certainly does not get the prestige that he really deserves. He did an outstanding job this year. He made sure that everything was taken care of, all the ice, etc., was on the football field, the tape, etc., and he did a great job for us. Manager of the Year, Greg Schutte. Greg, you can come up here. Our next award goes to a young man who as a junior played defense, but as a senior we needed him desperately on the offensive side of the line. He's a great one-on-one blocker, and I would say that he is probably one individual that gave 100% not only in ball games but in practice as well. Best offensive lineman, William Gaston. The next award goes to a young man who, although he started 3 years, you really didn't know that he was even around. He never said anything. He was a very consistent football player, and he won this award even though he's from Marche. Best defensive lineman, Frank Strozek. next award goes to a young man who really is a tremendous athlete. He started for us 2 years, and you know, there's not enough you can say about this young man. Great attitude, tremendous leadership abilities. Best offensive back, Drew May. Our next award goes to a young man, and of course he's already smiling. He is a 2-year starter in the defensive secondary, certainly very consistent. Great speed, great attitude, and really just a tremendous young man. Best defensive back, Kyle Lamb. This award goes to someone who I have tremendous admiration for, and certainly the rest of the coaching staff does also. Although he was injured last year and he had a severe injury, he came back and rededicated himself and worked out extremely hard and really accomplished a tremendous amount during this last year. We had 21 interceptions for the year, and this young man had 6 of those. Just a fine, outstanding player. Rocket of the Year, John Deuce. This next award is an extraordinary award. It goes to a young man who does not possess tremendous athletic ability, but he makes up for it with his dedication. He makes up for it with his inspiration, with his hard-working habits. And he's really the type of young man, the type of player you really enjoy coaching. He's the type of guy that you want to have on your team every year. He's the type of young man who, it doesn't matter whether he plays offense or defense. It doesn't matter whether he plays the line or the secondary. All that matters to him is that he can be a part of the team. And I have tremendous admiration for this young man. He's a good Christian young man, and he's got great desire. The Francis A. Allen Award for Dedication, Joe Emmel.
My part of the program tonight is to present an award to a young man I've had the privilege of being associated with since 1971 when I started at Catholic High School. He sits to my left here. When I started at Catholic High School, I outweighed this guy. He was a 175-pound thoroughbred who was starting his coaching career and was eager to make his mark. Roy, 14 years later and 100 pounds heavier, you've done it. On behalf of the faculty, administration, the coaching staff, and especially all these young men whose lives you've touched, a plaque for Roy Davis as Catholic High School's Coach of the Year.
Roy, I had to make a choice earlier this month between giving you a raise or that $29 plaque. And the plaque came to $2 more than I planned to give you as a raise, so you're very lucky. Where do you think he gained all this weight? Is those free lunches he gets every day at the school. Since I'm the man who pays the bills, I get to do almost anything I want in the program. And so I'm going to give out a couple of awards. First of all, I'm going to give out an award that's never been made before, because maybe it It hasn't been, well, I shouldn't say that. I'll get in trouble again. But we got this special award here for this guy. He's a frustrated athlete. He just really is, and but at any rate, he's a man who has given new enthusiasm and new life into this group we call the Booster Club, without which I couldn't possibly survive. They help us with our program. And as far as I'm concerned, everybody on the school, Jim Gaston is the Rocket Booster of the Year, worth $29 any day. I got one more award to give, and the guy really doesn't deserve this, but I thought it's kind of a nice thing to do anyway instead of a raise. I'm getting old, and seriously, there is one man on the faculty who really does treat me as if I'm his father, or as if I'm his grandfather, probably be more accurate. He's very conscious of my increasing senility, and seriously, he really does everything he possibly can to help me. He really does. He's concerned about me, and I appreciate it very much. The athletic director of any year, Ronnie Toll. I don't know why people pick on Alan Crook all the time, but you notice the coaches do that. I want to tell you a little story about Alan and Gayle here. I took Gayle over to see the football players before the banquet, and Alan has been talking about Gayle all day long. In fact, he's even going to read a book about Gayle. I'm getting one with monosyllabic words. And at any rate, you know how you have a hero and he keeps getting bigger and bigger in your mind, and I think that when he walked into the room that Alan was expecting this giant. And, you know, Gayle is no giant, and so Alan said to me, he's not as big as I thought. And I said, but he's strong. I said, I felt his arm. I said, and he really has an arm. Alan said, that doesn't count. You got to feel his leg. Ain't no way I'm going to feel Gayle Sayers' leg. I want to live a little longer. I was sick in the hospital before, and I don't want to go back there again. Drew May has a word to say.
Speaking on behalf of the senior football players, I'd like to extend our own few thank yous we have to give out. Our first thank you goes to a special group of people, and this group of people is our coaches. Even though Coach Davis right here received most of the attention all year, all of our coaches were equally important. He probably won't admit it, though, I bet. We thank all of our coaches, for without them, the game of football to us would be just that, a game. They have worked with us for 4 years, and it takes a special kind of coach to put up with us for 4 summers. The combined efforts of both players and coaches have paid off this year, and that payoff was the state championship. The seniors would like to thank coaches Roy Davis, Doug Pilcher, Tim Ezai, and Tony Ezai. Not to be left out are Coach Long and Coach Glancy, who scouted our upcoming opponents while we played on Friday night. A special thank you goes to Coach Tollett, who helped coach in the press box during most of our games. And last but not least, we'd like to thank Coach Hine. He spent 3 years coaching us and led us to a 10-0 season as sophomores, but this year he decided to sit out. Coach, I guess you picked the wrong year to sit out. I've heard that the players are an extension of a coach's ability to coach. I believe that this was more than evident this year. To all of our coaches, we thank you. Finally, the seniors would like to thank Father Tribou. He made this year possible by having a football team and spending all kinds of money on us about every day of the week. One last thing the seniors would like to ask of you, and that's whenever you walk down the hall and look up at the championship plaque, that you think of us. Father, we love you and we'll never forget you.
We started this football season way back in August wearing sweaty shorts and t-shirts. We officially closed the season tonight wearing tuxedos. We think we look pretty good. Well, we not only look good, we sound good. Well, pretty good. This is a happy occasion, and happy occasions call for song. We stole the music to this one, but we added our own words.
Get over there fast. Get around that piano, man, and sing out. Let them hear you.
Finally, we'd like to do something special for Gayle Sayers, who has done something special for us by coming and speaking at this banquet. We would like to dedicate to him this music from Brian's song.
Take
See, our kids can do anything, not just play football. They sing, they do anything. I'm really glad now that I spent all that money in those tuxes. I don't regret it at all. Now listen, the rest of you boys, the juniors and sophomores, I want you to find your way quickly through the crowd, come up and join them, and let's sing the alma mater, and let the parents join in. All you football players, get up here. See how fast you can move. While they're doing that, I have something that I want to say to Father Tribou. You know, with your medicine and your senility and all that, Father, want you to have something that when you look down to tell your time, it'll remind you of this 1984 championship team. Thank you so much. You win at last. That's a clever man. He makes you a partner in his crime. Now, you guys show them, under the direction of Miss Henley, you show them that you can sing the alma mater. Some of you need haircuts, by the way. You show them that you got school spirit, and you sing that alma mater like it's never been done before. Let's go. Hurry up. If you can catch and not lose your head, the boys want to distribute in an aerial way a few little souvenirs of the banquet, so if you're lucky you might catch one. You keep them. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for coming. We promised you a classy banquet, and up to this moment it was. God bless you. Good night. Now, you seniors, stay here to get pictures with Mr. Sayers. Just so they understand. We're going to get these kids lined up with Gayle here. Boy, you apologize. Listen, you did.
Bill. Singer and photographer. However many of them. Come on. Hey, everybody. I'm getting closer. Thank you. Tell her who you are and she'll let you up here right up front. Tell her who you are and she'll let you right up in front. Tell her who you are.
Thank you, George.
He's out here.